Corey Smith as well. So they will be helping to monitor the questions. Right now we're having some technical difficulties over here on our side. Some of you may have tried to get on the portal earlier this morning, and there was some issues on the portal, but it seems to be rectified right now. So as soon as they can get their technical stuff out, they will join us. All right. So let's get started.
Good afternoon, Machari. Quick question.
Yes.
How long will the call be for? Sorry.
The presentation usually goes for about an hour, depending on the number, or presentation is probably about a half hour, and then depending on how many questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so this presentation is for those persons who have applied for the 2025-2026 new overseas scholarship applications, new overseas scholarships. And it's specifically for those persons who are now in the final stages. And we wanted to just walk you through what's next and what are the expectations for the scholarship if you are awarded the scholarship. So most of you, if not all of you, should be in the final stage tasks. This is a stage where you would be completing your medical declaration forms if you're going to be on campus. If your program is fully online, then you would not need to be providing the medical declaration. You would also be needing to provide your unconditional acceptance letter from the university. Now we understand that many of you are still waiting for your final exam results or final grades to submit to the university. And once you've done that, then they will provide you with that letter. So once you have that letter in hand, you can upload it and complete your submission. I believe exam results should be coming in early August. So I know for the UK, it still has some time because most of you won't be going off till mid-September, early October. US and Canada might be a bit closer, but again, we will work with you and prioritize those who may be leaving sooner than others. You'll need to provide also the final transcript from your most recent education institution. So if you are at UCCI, but prior to UCCI, you were at John Gray, your final transcript should be your UCCI transcript. You should also be uploading your Right to be Caymanian confirmation letter, especially if you were requested to provide this during the application period. Some persons may have already provided it, and so you may not have that task on your stage plan. You'll also need to be providing the official degree plan and university costs, which is your tuition, your accommodations, and etc., for the university that you have decided to attend. So if you remember when you applied for the scholarship, we just asked you what your degree was that you're interested in, and we asked you to maybe list 3 different universities that you were looking at. At this point, we would expect you to have decided on where you're going to go and have that specific degree plan for what you need to study from that university to be able to upload. And your degree plan can be found on the university website. If you go to the school or college that you are going to be under, you look for your degree program, and there should be a degree plan that outlines basically what is it that you're going to be taking in your first year your second year, your third year, your fourth year, etc. That is what we need to have a screenshot of uploaded so that we can see how long your program, confirm how long your program is going to be and exactly how much time you will be needing to complete it within the allocated time the scholarship allows. After you have completed all your tasks, just like when you did the application, the tasks that are completed will turn green with a green check. And once all of your tasks are checked, then you will be able to submit your tasks. Once you submit, it will then go back to the reviewer. So I know that many of you might be a little, excited and apprehensive at this point, but we can't do anything until you have your final grades and until you have that unconditional acceptance letter. And trust, we've been doing this for quite some time. So even though the exam results come in early August, we do tend to have quite a quick turnaround. The key for the quick turnaround is for once you submit your information to just be patient and allow us to process it, because every time we have to stop and answer a phone call to see, someone calling to see, did my award did my submission get in? It means that there's a delay in us being able to actually process what we need to get you to the next stage. Okay. So once you have completed the final stage, you will then move to the award package stage. Okay. So the information that you provide us in the final stage in terms of your degree plan, the university you're going to be attending, the address of the university, the length of time your program is going to be, all of that information is going to be used to compile your bond documents. We definitely need accurate university costs. And again, these can usually be found on the university website. I know for first year students, you probably won't have your registration or your actual tuition costs and so forth, but you should be able to get off the university website the estimated costs for a year for your particular school and program. Please also make sure that during this time you are checking your email, the email that you put on your application, because if we have any questions, we will be emailing you to clarify that information. If you did not use an email account, if you used a email account such as your school account that you no longer have access to, then unfortunately what you're going to need to do is what you're going to need to do is go back to the eGov site, create an account, a new account with your new email, and then you email us at scholarships@gov.ky with that new email. This is why we had it highlighted in the beginning, to please make sure that you use an email account that you have access to, because that is how we're going to be communicating with you going forward. So if you no longer have access to that email account, then you want to quickly go ahead and create a new account with an email that you can access, and then let us know what that account is, what that email is, so that we can then sort things out with your application. But fingers crossed, I'm gonna hope that no one has done that. Although I have seen some names, I won't call them out, that are probably going to be emailing me in the next couple of days. All right. So once we've completed your award document, preparing your award documents, these documents will actually be emailed to you. So you will have your bond document that is going to be emailed to you, as well as your contact information. We know that most of you will not have the contact details for your overseas location. However, Please provide us with accurate and current local contact information, as well as the contact information for your next of kin. So someone that we can contact who would be in communication with you. Your bond agreement is going to need to be signed by yourself, the individual who is going to stand as your surety, and both signatures will have to be notarized either by a notary or a JP. And if you need one, there is usually a JP downstairs in the government building, I think every morning between 9 and 12, Monday through Friday, in the event that you need a JP. Your surety must be residing permanently within the Cayman Islands. Okay, so your surety needs to be someone who is currently living here in Cayman. Again, they are standing basically as a guarantor, saying that this student is contracting with the Cayman Islands government to receive X amount of funding to pursue a specific degree program. And at the completion of that degree program, they will return to the Cayman Islands and as a repayment, work within the Cayman Islands for the same amount of time in which they were awarded a scholarship for. The documents, once you complete your bond agreement documents, you're going to upload them back into the portal. And at that time, you're also going to complete your banking information. If you don't have an actual bank account right now, you can use your parents' bank account information. What I advise is that whatever bank account you're going to have your funds deposited to, you want to please make sure that you let your bank know that if you are awarded the scholarship, you want to let them know that you've been awarded the scholarship and you expect to receive a large lump deposit at least twice a year. Okay. The accounts can be, okay, I'll go into that in a second. Okay, so once the documents are uploaded into the portal, then you're going to take your original documents, you're going to put them in an envelope, and you can put your name on it up in the top left corner and address it to the Scholarship Secretariat. Then you're going to come to the GAB, or your parents or someone on your behalf will come to GAB. And downstairs in the lobby, there is as you come in, you will see that there is like a counter, and there's some boxes underneath that counter. There is a drop box that's specifically for the Scholarship Secretariat. It has our name on it. So you want to make sure that you put it in the correct box. You're going to deposit your envelope with your documents into that box. What happens then is when we collect them and we go through them, we will then have them signed off by our senior management persons, and then you will get a scanned copy of your completed signed bond document within the first 6 months of your scholarship, if not before. Okay, so scholarship disbursements. So we now do all payments online through online transfers and only to local banks. So we can do CNB, Butterfield, Royal Bank, Scotia, Credit Union, CIBC, and Proven. I think those are all the banks. It can go into either a KYD or a US account. We cannot make payments to credit cards, so please don't put your credit card number in the payment form. We can only transfer the funds into an actual account. And again, if you don't personally have an account, you can put your parents or your guardian's account information, and the money will be transferred into their bank account. Once your submission is in for payment processing, you will be advised that that you have been moved to payment processing. Please, 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 as I mentioned before, try to resist calling the office as soon as you hit submit, because as you can see just on this web call, we have over 200 and something persons, 200 something persons who are new. And in addition to you all, we have approximately probably over 500 other students who are also sending us emails and documents to be processed. So we try, once your submission has been activated, then we will we try to do it within 72 hours to make sure you get your stuff processed. Please also note that we also will prioritize the processing of persons' documents and their payments based on when they will be leaving. So persons who are going to the US and Canada, school starts earlier for most of them. So if you're submitting your documents, then it is likely that you will be processed a bit sooner before those who are going off to the UK. All right. So we will look, and there is a place for you when you're doing your final submissions to indicate when your intention to go off to school is, so that we can make sure that we give you sufficient time. In terms of the money, it usually takes at least 24 hours for the money to be transferred from our bank to your bank. So that is, not something that takes quite a long time. If once you submit your payments, you should get an automatic email that says, thank you for submitting your payment process for the scholarship, blah, 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 blah. If you don't, and I see I spelled don't incorrectly, if you don't get that automatic email, double check that you did click that submit button. If you have click the submit button, you've checked your spam, and you're not seeing the email, then please reach out to us so that we can double check to make sure that your submission didn't get stuck in the system. But once you have received that automatic email, then your submission is in queue to be processed. And they all get they're randomly sent to divided between all of the administrators. So, it will be looked at. You will also get notification when your payment has been sent by the bank. So that is something also that you can keep an eye on your emails for. Now, remember that for the scholarship award for undergrads, regular undergrads is up to $30,000 per annum. We do 2 payments. We do one in the fall and one in spring. And so depending on where you're going and what your estimated costs are, you could receive up to 15,000 KYD for this term. And then based on your submissions again and your grades, the second 15 would be in the spring. If you are studying education or an education related subject area, your scholarship could be up to 35,000 per annum. Okay. So we're having this meeting early because usually by the time we start doing this, we get really busy, and I don't get to talk to you all until you're already off at school and doing stuff. So I wanted us to have the meeting early on so that we can be very specific and you have a clear understanding on what your scholarship funds can be used for. Your scholarship funds should be used to first and foremost, pay your tuition. Okay, most universities will allow you to do a payment plan. That is fine. Just make sure that you are paying your tuition. Um, your airline tickets, you are allotted 2 airline tickets within that $15,000. You can pay for 2 round trip tickets, economy fare, and it should be from Cayman to the location of your university. All right. If you book a trip that goes from Cayman to Spain, and then you're hanging out in Spain for 3 weeks, and then you go over to the UK to go to university, we will not cover that ticket. And the cover for the ticket is also just for you. It's not for mommy and daddy and everybody else that might be going to send you off. It is only for your ticket. And some of the things that I'm going to say in this presentation, you might say, really, Dr. Shah, are you saying that? If I am saying it, it means I can guarantee that it has come across my desk. All right. So please, please, please be conscious when you're purchasing your airfare tickets. I know that some persons will prefer to buy a one-way ticket and then buy another one-way ticket. It is actually probably cheaper, and explore, do some investigation, because you can always go on Expedia or even the actual airline sites and kind of put in the information for your ticket. I know that most of you will not necessarily know when school is closing for Christmas. So you may say, oh, well, I don't want to buy a round trip ticket because I don't know when school's closing. But check out what the change fees are. If you buy a round trip ticket now and say, okay, you put in by December 18th, most schools are probably closed. And you find out school closes earlier, then it may only cost you maybe $150 to change that airline ticket versus purchasing a one-way ticket that is going to cost definitely a whole lot more. All right. So part of growing up and going off to university and becoming an adult is about being investigative and making sure that you are getting value for your money and being responsible in using the money that you have. Scholarship funds will pay for your accommodations. We highly recommend that if you are a first-year student that you stay on campus. This ensures that you have sufficient time to, navigate the area that you're in, become familiar with the surrounding areas, and then kind of scope things out as you get comfortable that maybe in your second or third year, you might consider renting off campus. If you are going off campus, one, make sure that your costs are reasonable. Now, and also it will depend on your location. So for those of you who may be going to the UK, if you are looking for an apartment in the midst of central London, your rent is going to be ridiculous. And scholarship funding will not be paying for a £4,300 a month apartment. Okay. So please try and be reasonable in terms of when you're looking for accommodations if you're not going to be on campus. Also, if you are living off campus, most rental agencies are going to require, and again, this is more specific for the UK. I haven't seen this come up as much for those who are in the US or Canada. But in the UK, they will require a guarantor, which is someone who is residing in the UK for over a period of time. The scholarships office nor the UK Cayman office cannot stand as your guarantor. If you don't have a guarantor, then most rental agencies will either ask you to pay for the entire year or at least 6 months up front. Now, if you do that and you use all of your scholarship funds to do that, then that's going to put you in a bit of a problem when it comes to paying your tuition and other things, right? So this is where the conversation of, what other financial support does mom and dad have in place to be able to help you sort that out. Again, recommendation is, living on campus. And then at the end of your first year, you might have made friends that you want to maybe share with. And then that way your costs are a lot less. And maybe one of your friends is someone who's actually from that location. And then you may not actually need to have the guarantor situation, right? So again, being aware of some of the challenges that you may find when you're heading off to school. Health insurance is also covered. This is health insurance for overseas. It is usually only applies to those persons who are studying in the US and Canada, or who may be in the UK on a student visa because you do not have a British passport, right? If you're going to schools in the UK and you have a British passport, you will be covered under the NHS. And so you will not need to be paying for health insurance. The health insurance also usually has to be paid up front for the full year. And I think it's something like $1,400. Sorry, £1,400. Yep. Okay. We do not cover health insurance in terms of local health insurance. Mom and dad will have to continue to pay that if they want to keep your health insurance here current while you are in school. Okay. All right, so continuing, what you can use your scholarship funds for. Books, school supplies. Obviously, we want you to eat, so meal plans or groceries. Transportation. Transportation is within reason. So if you are living off campus and you are taking public transportation, if you're in the UK, they have excellent public transportation, the public buses and the trains. And you can buy, I forgot what the name of it is, but you can buy a card that basically you just keep topping up and it gives you, you're able to use that. It's quite economical. Also, if you provide them with your student ID, I believe that there may be a discount. If you are, none of you should be on placement as yet, but sometimes you might have to go to placement for one of your courses. Then, if you're taking transportation and so forth. We usually don't expect transportation. If it is used or claimed, it would be more than $500 CA, right? So dorm supplies. Dorm supplies are things like your bed sheets, your towels, your pillows, your comforter, things that make you comfortable. It does not pay for your TV. It does not pay for furniture, or if you're in an apartment that doesn't have furniture and you need to rent those things, your dorm supply scholarship funds will not be able to cover those things. So again, when you're looking for a place to stay, you want to be looking for places that are already furnished or mostly furnished if you're going to be off campus. Winter clothing is on, again, that cost spreadsheet. It is really for places that are cold and you're going to be needing that good winter wear. So again, places like certain states in the US, Canada, and the UK, and other parts of Europe, you may need to be purchasing a nice, good, heavy coat, and gloves and all those other wonderful things, and raincoat and an umbrella and water boots. Right. Storage rental, you'll see on your cost spreadsheet as well. Usually, this is used at the end of your school year, in the event that you have some stuff that you need to pack up and you need to put it in storage because you can't leave it in your dorm room. Receipts to keep. You want to make sure that any payments that are made towards your tuition, your accommodations, your rent, your keeping, we'll also need a copy of your lease agreement, receipts for your airline ticket that you purchased. If you have made an insurance, if you're required to do the health insurance, that payment as well. Um, if you're on campus, you might have a meal plan that you have purchased. So that would be included in your overall receipts. Usually you can get a account statement from the university that will show your tuition payments, your meal plans, and all of that kind of stuff. I do not need to see every individual receipt of groceries from Tesco if you're in the US, UK, or Publix or Walmart. What we give you a set amount that we expect, students to be within. Per semester. And like I said, we've been doing this for a while, so we know on average what is spent on food and such things. So those things on that cost spreadsheet are already in there. So that is the amount. If you have something that's over that amount, so maybe your meal plan might be over that amount, then you would note it when you're submitting your stuff at the end of the term. If there's any other education related purchases that are over $500 or more, then you also want to make sure you keep those receipts just in case. But for most of you, once you pay your tuition, your accommodations, you buy your ticket, most of your scholarship funds should basically be used up. Okay. So if you're awarded a scholarship, you are expected to, one, maintain a GPA of 2.75 or a 2.2 within your first year. If you are already at a university, so for example, if you are currently at UCCI and you're now transferring overseas, then your GPA expectation is a 3.0 or a 2.1 in the first year on scholarship. We expect you to stay in communication with us, letting us know, how things are going, not just when things are going awry, but you can also send us a note in terms of any accomplishments or anything that you've made, or that or that you're okay sometimes, or not even sometimes. Right now, we know that there is a lot going on in the world, a lot of uncertainty. And so if some of you are going in areas that are close to areas that may be, near some of that conflict, which hopefully you're not, but, just drop us a line to make sure that things are going well and that you settled in, right? We expect you to seek support from the university resources if you need them. Okay. If you are struggling, adjusting to your classes, getting your schedule sorted, understanding your courses, we expect that you are going to take that initiative to go and access the resources, whether you need accommodations, you need tutoring, you need just to talk to somebody. If you're not feeling well, that you go to the nurse. This, again, is a part of that process of becoming a young adult and taking responsibility for yourself and your actions and your life. All right. So seek the support that you need. If you are playing a particular sport for the university, so if you are going off and you're a footballer or a swimmer or a track and field, you will likely, unless you already have a letter confirming that you are a part of the university's team. And this is, when we say university team, it means that this is not a club sport. Okay, so you are playing officially as a part of the official rugby league or football league program. And you will, like I said, if you haven't been confirmed yet, then we would expect that by the end of your first term, that you provide a letter confirming that you are part of that program. And then what we would do is your scholarship would be changed from a regular overseas scholarship to a student athlete scholarship, which does have some benefits in terms of the GPA of a 2.5 continuing for the remainder of your studies, because we know that you will be balancing both competition and training and studies. All right. So things to remember. Remember that you will have to account for all the funds that you have received. Okay. In your bond, it says, will say how much money you are being awarded and what the expectations are. Right? So just as, you, mom and dad may go to the bank and get a loan to build a house, the bank is going to want to know that they have actually used that money to build the house, right? So when the Cayman Islands government is providing you with these scholarship funds, you want to make sure that you're using the money responsibly. You will need to provide at the end of each term your final GPA or results before before any other funds will be dispersed. And usually towards the end of the term, we will send you an email saying, hey, we sometimes will do a webinar, or we'll notify you that the portal is open for your submissions. And that's when you would put in your receipts that you have collected over the first term. Even if you find yourself suspended because you did not meet the academic requirements, remember, this is an academic scholarship. You are still expected to log on to the portal at the end of that term, even if you self-funded because your funding was suspended, to put in your results for that term so that your scholarship can be reinstated. If you have any situation that impacts your studies, you must immediately advise the Secretariat. Please don't wait until it's time to submit grades, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh shoot, I should have emailed the Secretariat and told them that I was sick for the month of October and I actually missed some exams, but I did talk to my advisors and things were sorted out, but my grades still got impacted. You know, call me in October, send us an email in October and saying, hey, Dr. Shari, hey, Miss Stephanie, hey, Miss Lean, whatever. Unfortunately, I got really, really sick. I had to go see the doctor, missed some assignments, but I'm working with my advisor to get my grades up. We understand that life can happen, and we are here to help and support you. But we can't help and support you if you don't tell us what's going on. Okay? Please also note that you are not allowed to change your degree program or your institution without approval. You are going to sign a bond document that has the degree program and the university that you are attending for X period of time. That is where we expect you to be. If you are considering making a change, then the recommendation is that you contact the Secretariat as soon as possible. There are forms that would need to be completed, and then we would have to then seek permission from the council that, based on your rationale and reasoning for your change, whether it's supported or not. Okay. If you don't do this, you can place your scholarship in jeopardy. So please communicate us before making any changes. Hopefully you get to university and the program that you have signed up for is everything that you wanted, that you hoped it to be. You're settling in well at university, and so there's no need for those changes. But sometimes circumstances are that maybe the degree program is not what you thought it to be, so you want to change, or maybe you're just not adjusting well to the particular university that you're at, and so you now have an opportunity to change. So it's not that we don't approve it, but we would like you to follow the appropriate process in which you communicate with us first so that we can provide you with the best guidance and support in making those decisions. Okay. So your scholarship status has 4 different statuses. Good standing means that you are meeting the academic requirements and your funds will be dispersed to you. If you get a warning, it means that you have fallen below the academic requirements, but you're still within the probationary range. You will receive your funds, but that is the only warning that you will be allowed for the entire degree program. So if you're going to school for 3 years in the UK and you get a warning in the first, at the end of your first semester, that's the only one that you can get for the rest of the remaining time of your program. If your academic standing falls way below the expected requirements and even the probationary range. So if you come in with a GPA of a 1.5, that is way below the expected performance. We don't expect persons to fall below, the lowest would be the 2.75. So make sure you're between that and then the 3. Your funding is suspended. Now, that does not mean that your scholarship is closed off and done. It just means that your funding is suspended until you get your GPA back to where the requirements are. And again, this is where we have a conversation with you in terms of what kind of academic supports are you tapping into. If there's other things that are going on, whether it's physical illness, mental health wellness that you need to address, then we will work with you in terms of making sure that those things are also being addressed. Once you get back up to where the expectation of academics performance is in, then your funds will be reinstated. You cannot be given funds that have been suspended for a particular term at a later date. I've had people who will, well, I got my GPA back up. Can I please get the funds that were suspended? The funds for that term, there's a reason why they were suspended. If I'm going to give them to you, if we're going to give it back to you when you get your grade up, then it doesn't make sense for me to suspend them, right? So mom and dad, make sure you're encouraging and supporting your young person to do their best and get the help that they need if they need it, so that they're not anywhere in that category. Now, as I said previously, we know that life happens. There are circumstances that are out of your control. I have had students who have gone overseas and ended up having to have emergency surgery. We've had persons who have lost a loved one, students whose schools have gone on strike. So different things can occur that are not within your control, but it does impact your academic performance. Okay. So again, this is why it's important for you to have that communication going with the secretariat so that if you have one of those situations, we can have that discussion and then look at whether you are eligible for a warning with extenuating circumstances in which you would still get the funding dispersed to you, but obviously we would make a note on why your performance was what it was and make sure that anything that we implement in terms of follow-up is being done. Right? I have also had students who have just not adapted well in their first year, or they've struggled, and sometimes it doesn't happen until your second year. And the schools have recommended maybe them taking a semester off. That is all things that we will work with you on. Okay. The most important thing is that you as a student are well that you are safe, and that you are in a environment that allows you to perform at your best. And if there are circumstances that are impacting that, then make sure that you're speaking to individuals who can help you navigate how to, make that better and get you back to where you need to be. If for some reason you are not awarded the scholarship, and usually for persons who have get this decision at this point in time in the application process, it's usually because you have not met the academic requirements for the scholarship. You have a few options. One would be to self-fund your first term, and then those results can be used to determine your scholarship status. So you would self-fund the first term, which is your September to December term, use the results of that term to then get on scholarship for January, the following January. Other options that you may want to have a conversation with your parents about, if you haven't had yet, are things like student loans through the local banks. And hopefully you have all applied to other private scholarships that you might be eligible for as well. If you are attending UCCI or one of the other local institutions, and you haven't completed your degree. So if you're at UCCI and you're doing your associates, but you haven't finished, then you may want to consider staying on, completing that degree, getting your GPA up, and then starting maybe next year, January, or next year, fall, right? Universities will always be there. It is most important for you to go when you are truly ready and prepared to go and deal with the various demands that you're going to face when you get there. Okay. And if you can give yourself a, extra hand up because you're already performing where you need to be, then that is good. And if not, there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I'm not ready, or I'm going to defer for a year or a term, get myself sorted out a bit better, get my grades where they need to be, and then go off to university. Remember, this is an investment. The Cayman Islands government is investing in you. And some of you may have an investment up to $120,000 or more. If you went to CNB and asked them for a loan for $120,000, you're going to have to put a lot of collateral down and do a lot of other stuff. So make sure that you are ready to take this challenge on. I believe that, at some point, all of you are going to be, and you will be successful at it. So in terms of persons who are awarded a scholarship, the expectations are, first and foremost, and you see it in red, and I know that you're all like probably going, why did she have those words? Because you do not know how many times, and I know my administrators can give me a thumbs up on this in agreement, how many times we will hear, oh, but miss, I didn't know that. And but it's in your bond document. Oh, I didn't read that. Never, 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 never in your life, especially now, do you sign a document and you have not read it. Make sure that you read your bond document, and not just you, but your surety as well. Whoever's signing that bond document with you, make sure you read it thoroughly so that you understand what the expectations are and what the parameters are for the scholarship. Because it's a part of the whole process, but it's also your responsibility. Okay. If you were to go to court and the judge said it's in your bond, and you say to the judge, well, I didn't read it, he's going to ask you, why did you sign it? So make sure you read your bond document, please. As a part of being an awardee of the Cayman Islands Scholarship, Ministry of Education, Cayman Islands Government Scholarship, you will be included in the various ministries' press releases campaigns. So when we have our final list of our 2025 overseas scholarship awardees, your name, your degree, the school you're going to, and your jurisdiction will all be, a part of an ad campaign probably. We want to share your highlights and your achievements. So again, staying in communication with us so that we can help share how well you are doing. When you complete your studies, the expectation is you will return to the Cayman Islands upon the completion of your studies to seek employment as a repayment for the period of time you were provided funding for, right? Now, I know one of the questions that we'll get, but Miss, what if I want to do my master's? That is fine. Again, it goes back to communicating with the secretariat. Okay, so you finish your first degree. A lot of you, if you are going in the field of medicine, it is expected that you continue on to your master's. Medicine is like a 13, 15-year commitment. So, expected that you will continue on to postgraduate studies. But again, we would want you to communicate with us. Obviously, if you're applying for a postgrad scholarship, we would see that application. But the expectation is that when you complete your studies overall, is that you will return to Cayman and reinvest what you have been, given the opportunity to access. Over the last couple of years, I have seen this scholarship program, the attitude towards it change. I was blessed in my years to be able to be awarded a government scholarship to go off to study. And at no point, not at any level, and I have gone from my bachelor's to my doctorate, did I question returning to Cayman and giving back to my community. I also knew that there was an expectation for me. In the recent years, we are seeing this students coming, taking the scholarship award program on more as a right rather than a privilege. And this is a huge privilege that we have here in the Cayman Islands, that our government invests such a significant amount of money in educating its people. You cannot go to any other jurisdiction in the Caribbean or even in the world and find this kind of program and investment. In the United States, it is a student loan. And actually, no, they don't even have that because their president has eliminated all educational financial support. Okay. In the UK, it's again a student loan that the student has to repay as soon as they graduate. So please, 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 if you take this scholarship up, really pay attention to the value that you have been given and the opportunity, and make the best use of it, right? Throughout your studies, we want to try and organize opportunities for persons to network so that connecting you, unfortunately, well, we didn't have interviews. So we're having to find other ways for you to connect with persons in the industry locally, and make those network connections during the summer. Return home, find opportunities for work experience, build those connections and those networking opportunities so that when you are about to complete your studies, you are in a position where you can maybe send an email to, "Here, Mr. Bodden, I'm going to be completing my bachelor's in accounting and finance. I have interned at your company, EY, for the last 2 summers and would really like the opportunity to become a full-time employee at the end of my studies. Okay, so not just looking at today, but looking down the road and looking at how much opportunity you can gather that will help build your resume at the end of the day. Even overseas at university, there may be opportunities for you to do things or get experience that can, again, build on your resume. When you start applying for jobs, a lot of them are going to say, what experience do you have? And if you're able to say, well, I did this, this, and this, that can show that you also got some experience while you were doing the theoretical part of your studies, it will help you in your job search and in employment opportunities. Another thing that's very, very important, always, always, always act in a professional manner. You are an ambassador of the Cayman Islands and the Cayman Islands government and Ministry of Education, and it is expected that you are acting accordingly within the agreed guidelines of the scholarship. You all have grown up in the world of social media and the internet, and I know that you walk around with devices that are continually on. Please be aware that we are also in a world where what you put on the internet stays on the internet. And I don't know if you've been paying attention what's happening in the world right now, but students who are going to the US, there is now a requirement if you need a student visa that you have to release your social media pages and information as a part of your application, or your visa could potentially be declined. Potential employers will search social media to see if there is anything inappropriate or any concerns in regards to potential applicants. So it's not that we don't want you to go and enjoy yourself and enjoy university and enjoy this experience, but you also need to make sure that you are being smart and responsible. Okay. And that brings us to the end of that presentation. At this point, before we start open for questions, I'm going to ask my administrators if they have anything they want to add that I may have missed. Okay. Okay. So I don't know if we have a chat. There's a chat on this program, but if you have a question, you can raise your hand and we will begin to answer. Kendra Brown.
Yes, Mom.
Yes.
Oh, I don't have a question.
Nope, no question? Okay.
No, Mom.
All right. Let's see. Boujou? Forget?
Yeah, that's
Sorry
me.
if I I'm killing your names. I apologize.
I had a math teacher call me Banjo. You are completely fine. It's usually Forte, but you are good. So I'm already in university.
Okay.
So I'd only need funding for like my final year. Does that mean that when I return to Cayman, I'm expected to work for a year, or or a full 4 years, even though I'm only getting 1 year of funding?
It would be your repayment is for the amount of years you receive funding. So if you only got 1 year of funding, then it would be only for 1 year.
Perfect. I just wanted to confirm. Thank you.
No problem. Henderson?
Yes, man. How you doing?
Hello.
Just, I just have a question real quick in that regards, right? So let's put it in that case that, for example, well, I've been employed for a while in Cayman with a company with my company currently. In the case of, for example, let's put it we're doing projects overseas, while I'm at school, for example. Would I have to fill like a timeline that I am working with my company? So it's like because it's based in Cayman, right? Like so for the period of time I'm working with them remotely, does it equal to the time I'm dedicating back to the island, or it just counts like when you're totally completed with class and then you return back, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so your repayment of your bond starts upon the completion of your studies.
Oh, okay, cool.
All right, Corindra, uh, or Colindra. Okay, I'll go to Matthew Artuck.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Oh, yes.
Hello, yes, good afternoon. I have two questions. The first is that the nature of my degree is one where I can't apply for it until after 2 years of completing the first 2 year general years of my application. So on the application, the degree that I have put down is not the specialization of the degree that I actually want to do. It's not that I want to change my degree because I don't like it, but I can't apply for it until after 2 years. So do I still need to conduct the same process in terms of, you communicating with the secretariat of the degree change and so forth, or can I just put down the name of the degree that I actually want to do? Because
What I would suggest in your case, because I can't give you an answer just offhand without knowing the details of both the degrees, is that when you once you submit your final documents, then we can send an email so that an administrator can contact you, and we can look at exactly what it is that you're doing. All right. Once your question
thank you so
has been
much.
answered,
My next thing
no,
is, what would the process be?
what would the process be
Deferring.
for deferring?
Yes,
If
ma'am.
you want to defer, all you have to do is just send us an email and state that you are deferring and indicate whether you're deferring for a term or a year. And then usually
Okay.
I would say 2 months before when you want to start, you want to reach back out to us to say that you're ready to initiate your application.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Let's see. Catherine Swaby?
Hi, I'm actually going with a question. I'm her parent, and you said that local health insurance is not covered. We have Brit K insurance that covers local and overseas. Could her portion of that be applied to the scholarship funds?
We're not allowed to pay for any local insurance company coverage. We can only pay for the university requirement college coverage.
Okay,
So
she's going
where,
into US, so we would get to need her a separate US health insurance.
yeah,
Pay for that.
so usually US schools require students, if she's going in as an international student, they usually will require them to purchase a insurance policy that they organize, and that's what the scholarship funds could be used towards.
Okay, if we purchased like United Healthcare or something like that, if we just purchase her a policy, can that be used?
What I would do is once you get to the university, see what the requirements of the university are, and and go by their guidance, and then we can then best guide you on what we'll be able to cover. Because I know some universities are specific in regards to what companies they will accept. If she has a particular company already, they may be like, okay, you don't need to actually get any insurance, you're fine.
Yeah, they're not, they don't really offer anything through the university. And because she has US citizenship, they don't consider her to be an international student. So it's, anyway.
Okay. Well, we will talk to her more when she gets to that point of part of her discussion.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, Marco.
Yeah, hello, good afternoon.
Yeah.
So my question is, so for my degree, the first semester exams would be in January and not December. So I was wondering if that would affect the disbursements as the results would come in the second semester and not at the end of the first.
Okay, Marco, are you going to the UK?
Yes.
All right, so for all my UK students, and this was a part of my spiel that I forgot. So thank you, Marco, for reminding me. Most UK's programs, yes, you do not take your final exams for the first term until you go back after Christmas. However, in early October, usually you will get an email from us that has an evaluation form that basically we ask you to go take to your professors for each module that you're taking. And it's basically a check in terms of, are you attending class? Are you participating in class and handing in assignments and so forth? And what, the expectation of your performance is. And that is what you're going to have completed and you will submit in order to be evaluated for your next disbursement. So I always say to the students, please make sure that you make friends with the professors, know who you are and that you're on a scholarship, and the teacher assistant, because most of the UK programs have TAs that kind of oversee most of the stuff, or even your advisor, so that when you get those forms, you're able to get that information from those persons.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Priscilla.
Okay, yes, ma'am. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay, I'm good. So I have a question, right? So say if I don't have the full estimate of 3 semesters because the college that I applied for only gave me an estimate for my first semester, like what would happen? Because I already had asked for a full estimate for a full year, like 3 semesters, but I haven't gotten anything else yet. So what would happen if I haven't gotten a full estimate?
Well, we can only do your bond based on the financial information that you provide for us. So I guess you would want to just make sure whether you're getting the information from the website or whether you're going specific to university to what it's going to cost you for a full year. So it sounds like you have a bit of a different kind of program set up. So again, when you submit your information, then just send us an email so that the administrator can communicate with you. And just to let everybody know, when we get your final documents and we start to work on your award package, we will be in communication with you to confirm how many years that you're going to be going for, confirm the amount of funding that you will need to access, so that when we send you that bond document, it is basically a finalized document in terms of years needed and amount of funding. Okay, so if there's concerns in regards to, I don't have the full amount right now or such, that is all a part of a conversation that will happen before we finalize the bond documents or we issue any money.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am.
You're welcome. Maya.
Hi, good afternoon. About the acceptance letter, my college does not give acceptance letters instead of the enrollment verifications. Will this work? Sorry, So about the acceptance letter, my college they don't give acceptance letters, they only give enrollment verifications. Is that okay? Or
Well, whatever, we need something that shows that you have been enrolled or accepted into a program that you and it stipulates the degree program that you're going to be attending, and it's coming from the university that you have indicated you will be attending.
okay,
So
thank you.
whatever it is that they give you, then obviously we will use that and then work with you.
Okay, and then for the final exam grades, we don't, at the college I go to, we don't get our final exam grades. We only just get the final grade for the semester. So is that if we put our final grades for the class, is that okay?
Are you going to US? What jurisdiction are you going to?
The US.
Okay, so you should be able to provide a transcript that shows all of your grades and your GPA. So for people who are going to the US, we'll actually be looking for your semester GPA to determine your eligibility for funding.
Okay.
The other thing I want to just mention, because I've seen a lot of different universities coming up, and some of them I've actually had to Google to make sure they were legit universities. You want to make sure that you are going to a school that is regionally accredited, and that the school is also accredited in terms of for the program that you're going to be studying. You don't want to spend 3, 4 years going to a program and then when you come out and you're trying to get a job and they're looking at your qualifications, your employers are like, well, we're not really too sure about your qualifications, right? So it may be more beneficial that if you haven't gotten into, say, your top pick schools, of maybe looking at, do I wait and apply again to some other schools, because we want to make sure that you're coming back with the quality qualifications that you need to be employed. Okay. Kai Small.
Hello. I just had 3 questions. So my first question is, with having to work back in Cayman, in the final year of my degree program, we have like a placement, and it's very often you get offered a job after that placement. I'm just wondering, would I be able to take that job and then after that job is completed, because I want to go into performing arts, so it's likely that that job isn't going to be long term. After that part is completed, am I able to come in Cayman after and work after that?
Again, you would have to write council. Council does have the the right to approve a student deferring their repayment of their bond up to a year or longer. But you would have to write to them and request that your repayment or return be deferred for a year, and then demonstrate why that request is being made.
All right, perfect. And then my second question is, for UK schools, how does the GPA requirement translate? Because they don't quite do GPAs.
So for UK, the first year is a 2.2, and then second, third years are 2.1s or
Okay.
higher.
And then just for my final question, how often should we stay in touch with the scholarship secretariat? Like, if we don't have anything major showing up, how often should we aim to email just for a quick check-in?
If you're not got anything major, I mean, at least once during the term, I would say would be a good, just to say hi. I've settled in, things are going okay. Is fine.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. Is he Akila Cole?
Hi, this is Akilia's mom.
Hi.
I just have a few questions. The first question is, all of this information here that basically we're on now, will that be forwarded to the students or something like that, or no?
This has been recorded, and so it'll be on our YouTube page if they want to view it again. But most of the information that's contained in this presentation are details that are included in their bond.
Okay. Another question is, she's supposed to start, well, she should be starting in the UK in January. I want to find out if her cynical insurance here, will she be able to use it in the UK, or I have to provide her with a different type of insurance? That's the health insurance.
Does she have a British passport?
Yes, she does.
Okay, so as I said earlier, in terms of the health insurance, if you have a British passport and you're going into the UK, they are going to you would fall under the NHS, which is their national health insurance policy, and she would just sort that out once she gets to school. I don't think they will take her cynical, but you would have to check cynical with that. But all of our students who have British passports, because we are considered a UK citizen, would fall under the national health insurance.
Okay. And I saw the part where you said the tickets, you provide funds for 2 tickets for the year. Is that 2 round trip tickets, or how does that work?
So in the 15 or the 30,000 up to 30,000 per annum, she can purchase 2 round trip tickets. So that is for when she's starting school. Usually most students are starting in September, so it'd be their September to December ticket and then their January to July ticket. So obviously if she's starting a bit later, then she would definitely have 1 ticket that we would be looking at covering or her claiming for, which would be when she goes in January and returns during the summer.
Okay. And if she decided to further her education after her 3 years, because it's a 3 years course, if she decide to further her education after the 3 years has passed, would she be able to apply for another scholarship with you all, or no?
Once the degree is of a different level, she wouldn't. So if she's looking at doing a postgraduate, then yes. Once she completes her first qualification for her first degree, then a postgraduate she can apply for a postgraduate application scholarship. Sorry.
Okay. What if when she finished schooling and returns home, do she have to work within the government, or can she work outside of the government?
She's not obligated to work within government. She's obligated to work within the Cayman Islands.
Okay. All right. That's another thing I needed to find out. And the spreadsheet, for the cost spreadsheet, do she have to provide for the full 3 years cost, or she can do it year for
The
the year?
spreadsheet, the instructions on the spreadsheet should be that she is filling it out for a 1 full year per
1
annum.
full year. Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Jaren?
Hi, hello.
Hi.
Yeah, earlier I heard you mention some documentation that you'll be sending out for us to fill out before we receive the bond documentation. And you were mentioning how we were gonna have to fill out how long our degree or course would be. Um, my my course that I will be studying, it doesn't have a set time format, so I don't really know how I would fill that part out. It's more dependent on the school and student as opposed to the amount of work you have to do.
Okay, so Jaren, I would say that you might want to call the Secretariat and have a look at your program. The council, I mean, for a bachelor's, it is expected that you're going to complete it within 3 to 4 years. So there needs to be some kind of timeline that you're completing all your courses within. So I'm not really sure how your program, if are you doing online or is this on in-person program?
No, it's an in-person program. It
Okay.
actually doesn't have a classification as an associate's or bachelor's. It's more of a, I don't want to call it a certificate program, but you don't really get a quote unquote degree at the end of the program.
Okay, so you definitely need to call our office because in order to be eligible for a scholarship, you need to be in a program that results in some level of qualifications. So even if it's a TVET program, you would be completing the program with a TVET certification that would lead to some level of employment.
Okay,
So
thank you.
yeah. Okay. Isaiah, Izra, Izarah is how it's spelled. You're still muted. Okay, we'll come back to him. I'll go to Dylan.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear
Hello.
me?
Yes.
So I have a few questions. Firstly, is there a set limit to the number of recipients for this scholarship?
No.
Okay. Second off, if you're a recipient of a private sector scholarship that's roughly the same amount of this scholarship, are we still eligible for this scholarship?
If you receive a private scholarship, you are required to declare that. We would look at your private scholarship to see what they are covering. A lot of private scholarships are very specific in what they will cover, if they will cover your tuition only or your accommodations. And then it depends on where you're going to school. So if you're going to school in the US and your tuition is 60,000 per annum, then it's highly likely that you may need to access funds. So the government scholarship becomes a top up to the private one, depending on whether the funds are needed.
Okay, thank you. Also, for sixth form students, we have to wait for A-level results to get our final transcript. So is there anything we could provide while we wait for our final transcript, because it'll take a while to get that?
Nope, with the A levels, we know they don't come in until usually the first, second week of August. So usually we're done with everybody else and we just do a quick turnaround once you submit them. So as soon as you get your results, you send them in, upload them and hit submit.
Okay, I have two more questions. Do we have to ask the university for a document for the official university costs section? Because
You should
most,
be able to see, you should be able to get that from the website.
okay,
A screenshot of that information off of their website.
okay. And final question, can you use the scholarship money to purchase a laptop if you don't have one?
You would need to email us. There's a separate allocation if you need to have a laptop that we have to go through. So you wouldn't be able to use your actual 15,000 if that's what you get.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right.
Hi, sorry, this is Isabel. My mic wasn't working earlier.
I'm not hearing you that well.
Hello?
Yes, okay.
Sorry, I was saying this is Azara. My mic was not turning on earlier, but I just have a quick question.
Okay.
I wasn't here for the first, I think like 15 minutes, 20 minutes of the Zoom. I don't know if you mentioned it, but I wanted to know when we can expect disbursement of the funds.
Okay, so disbursement of funds does not start until you have a bond document. Bond documents don't get released until we get final grades and transcripts.
Okay.
So once you have all your final grades and you submit that, we review. We will consult with you in regards to whether there's any questions that we have. And then you have to complete all your bond documents.
Okay. Sounds good. And once we complete bond documents, we will get a letter certifying that we are with the scholarship or something that we can give the school to hold on to until we get the funds.
Yes. So once you accept the scholarship, you will receive, as a part of your bond documents, a scholarship award letter that persons will often forward on to their universities or use if they have to get visas.
Okay.
All right. Okay, Ty.
Good afternoon. Okay, so question. I've already completed my first year in my bachelor's. Will I be reimbursed for that year or no?
Nope.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's all right. So another question also. I am doing my marine biology bachelor's. If I were to buy dive equipment, would the scholarship cover that or no?
You would have to show that it is part of a requirement for one of your courses, but again, remember your scholarship has to cover your funding has to cover your entire tuition, accommodations, all those things first. So my recommendation to everybody, and I probably should have said this sooner, is use the cost spreadsheet that you're provided with as your budget guideline, right? You put in what your tuition and payments need to be, how much money you need to spend for your accommodations. We already have plugged in that spreadsheet the average cost of food and other things already in there for you. Use that as your guideline. Once you fill those items in and I've paid my tuition so I can't get kicked out of school, and I paid my rent so I can't get kicked out of my apartment. If you have a couple of $100 left, then then you start to do some wiggle room. But my recommendation is to make sure that you use the funds to cover those big ticket items first.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
You're welcome. Elizabeth Thomas.
Hi, good afternoon. I have a question concerning like A levels. What would the process look like if I apply to a different university through clearing in the UK?
In terms of
when grades come out, like say for example, I get higher grades and I can apply to a higher ranked university, what would that process look like in terms of informing the scholarship committee and so forth?
Well, the process is really in your hands. So if you feel that you are going to change universities, then you wouldn't submit that information until you have confirmed that. So it may mean that you don't, if you understand what I mean. Part of your final documents is your acceptance letter from that university. So if you are going back into clearing, then you would need to wait until you get your acceptance through clearing to be able to then put together your bond documents.
Okay, that'd be all. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, Ruth Ann.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi.
I just have a question pertaining to the timeline in which transcripts are provided by our university, and when the scholarship secretariat um, semester viewing of them. So like say for instance, we finish our exams in December and then say for instance, our university doesn't provide an actual physical transcript until like February 1st per se. How would we go about that process?
Are you going to school? Where are you going to school or hoping to go to school?
in Jamaica.
Okay. So you're going to UE?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Yeah, UE is special.
Yeah.
we we will work with you on a one-to-one basis with
Yes, ma'am.
UE and when they get their stuff out, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that.
That's the best answer I can give you.
Appreciate the understanding.
No problem. All right. Let's see. Raya or Maya, sorry.
Hello,
Ramaya?
can you hear me?
Yes.
Do you guys, if a school offered for a foundation year, do you guys cover that?
We will cover a foundation year if it is required by the university. So
Okay.
if you applied to a university and you applied to the 3-year program with foundation year, my recommendation to you is that when you get your final grades, is to contact the university and provide them with your results to see if you can go straight into year 1. The expectation, are you in
Okay.
levels?
No, ma'am, I'm coming from UCCA.
Okay, so yeah, I would do that because usually, have you finished your associates?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so usually with an associates, we would expect that you have met the requirements to get into year 1. So I would,
And it would be the same process if the foundation year was to be done and I'm changing my degree for first year. We would notify you before that year is started.
yeah. So you would contact university, see if you're getting into your first year, because and then communicate with us so that we know how to finalize your bond document. We're not
Okay,
going to
thank you.
finalize any bond documents until we have final documentation from the university confirming how long your program is and what program you're doing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Aaliyah Powell?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I had a question regarding our grades. So my school gave us our final grades back for the year, but we haven't received an official transcript. We only have an unofficial one. Would I be able to submit the unofficial transcript that clearly shows my grades, or would I have to email the school asking for an official one?
I believe you can use an unofficial transcript once we can see the school's information on it and it clearly outlines all of the different terms.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Saliqua McLaughlin?
Hi, yes, good afternoon.
Hi.
I was just wondering if we were to defer the scholarship, at what stage would we do that?
You can defer at any point in time before you start the scholarship. So my recommendation would be probably if you're looking at going within the next 6 months, I would say, get your bond, well, defer it before your bond is initiated. And you can defer only up to a year. So if you defer it now, then you need to activate your scholarship by at least this time next year.
Okay, perfect. And I also wanted to ask if the scholarship is available for any Euro country.
We don't have a limit on the country. If it's someplace really, really unusual, we're probably going to have a conversation with you, because the other thing is, you have to consider airfare, location, etc.
Okay, my last question is for the student athlete, I wouldn't be able to get my confirmation letter from the university until I go up. So would I do it? Could I be able to send it to you guys when I go up, or would I have to do that the next semester?
You would send it the next semester. So
Okay.
yeah, and then we would just make the adjustment on your bond then.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
No problem. Okay. Johan Taylor.
Hello. Sorry.
Hello.
I have a question. So I'm a student at UCI doing almost finished my associate's degree, but I've been accepted to a university, and I haven't completed my associate's degree. What happens there?
Well, are you going to UK or US?
UK.
Okay. We always say it's good to complete your associate's qualifications.
Yeah.
But if you are going into a area that your associates really isn't connected to, because I know some of you, opt for UCCI for various reasons, there's really no penalty in not completing the associates. Obviously,
Right.
you would have invested money if you were on a scholarship for it, and it's something that's not completed, but you don't get penalized for it.
Okay, so all right, just to clarify, or just for your understanding, they do know that I haven't completed it. I just it's just one course that takes just one course that I have to do next summer when it's available. So would potentially you guys would still fund me to go to my university overseas still,
Yeah,
even if I
you're not.
haven't.
Yeah, you're not penalized if you don't finish your associates at UCCI once you're accepted into a accredited program. That's fine.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank
But
you
if you
very
only have one
much.
course, I would say finish it. Can't hurt.
Yeah, no, the thing is it's only offered in the summer, so I have to wait till next summer, unfortunately. But thank
No
you so
problem.
much.
You're welcome. Christiane? Christiane?
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. So you said that we have to declare if we're getting a private scholarship
Yes.
as well. When and where should we do that?
When you're completing your cost spreadsheet, I believe on the cost spreadsheet there is a line item on the bottom that you can put how much, who that scholarship is with and how much you're receiving. And then you can also upload a copy of the award letter.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Liam Benson.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good.
I just had a question about the medical declaration. Just where do we get the form and what do we need to do with it? Do we need to take it to just the HSA, a general like GP? What is the actual process for that?
If the applicant is in final stages, they should be able to download the medical declaration forms there. One is for the student to complete that basically says what I'm saying is the truth, blah, 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 and truth and honest and all that stuff. And then you just take the form to whoever your general practitioner is, and they can complete it. It is up to the doctor what tests they want to do. What we have found is that if you go to the HSA and you don't frequently see the doctors at HSA, then they probably will do the usual annual physical check.
Okay, perfect. And so that document will be given to us directly or download from the portal, I guess?
Yeah, so once you're in final, if the applicant is in final stages, then that is a part of the final stage section tasks.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
No problem. Ashley?
Hi, good afternoon.
Hey.
I have two questions. First question is the PowerPoint you were showing, is there any place that we can access that so that my parents will be able to take a look as well?
Yes, you can go on the scholarship YouTube page. It will be up probably by the end of the week.
Okay, thank you so much. And my second question is, if you're going to a US school, would you be able to clarify the GPA you'd need to maintain for the scholarship to maintain it?
If this is your first year at that university, your first year is a 2.75 for the first year, and then after that is a 3.0.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Let me see. Rihanna Rankin?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, my voice is, I'm sick today, but I
Sorry.
wanted to ask a question about US schools and the offer letter. I don't know, well, for some people in here who are going to the US, I don't know if they're going through the same thing, but with me, I have to go through a course by course evaluation before I can receive an unconditional offer letter. I don't want to make, sorry, my scholarship is for January 2026, but I don't want to make it seem like I'm stagnant in my application for the scholarship. So I wanted to know what could be done there, or what should I do?
All you just need to do is send us an email at scholarships@gov.py and just let us know that, you're still being evaluated. And you're still interested in the scholarship, but the university you applied to is evaluating your courses. That is fine. We basically, the process doesn't, you initiate the process. So whenever you are ready to do that, then it can start to happen. But it's good if you kind of send us an email so that at some point we're gonna probably put them in holding. So we just want to make sure. But we would contact you before we did anything like that. So it's not like your application is going to get closed off or
Denied. Okay, I just want to make sure because I didn't want to make it seem that way. Because I did send an email to the scholarship secretariat, and they respond to me. And I also have one more question. I wanted to apply for a secondary scholarship, but I want to do that during the end of this year. Is that fine? Because in the final stage, if I were to finish it, I wouldn't have it as, oh, I had a secondary scholarship. So I don't know
once
how.
once you have the funding, you just need to let us know.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay. Thank you so much.
No problem. All right. This is Talia Hunter.
Hello.
Hi.
I have a bit of a weird kind of question.
Okay. You
So
want it in English?
no, it's okay. So originally, I was looking into going to a US school. So in the slots where you had to put the three desired schools,
Yeah.
I put US schools, but since the whole thing that's going on up there, I've decided to go to the UK and I've applied and been accepted. Does that change anything?
No. So again, you're in final stages. So you would put whatever school you decided to go to in your final stage documents.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Who do we have? Crystal Bush.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Hey.
So just a question about the student visa as well for the US. I recently tried to apply for one, but I was told that because they have a ban on it, that it wouldn't have made no sense for me to apply for it. So then I was told that I should look for a school in the UK. So I wasn't sure if
Anybody else had that problem?
yeah.
We have not received any official communications that student visas are not being processed.
Yes.
You will actually need to have been awarded, unless as a part of your visa application, you have to provide financial support. So unless your parents are getting, providing you with that letter, you would have to wait until you get your scholarship awarded. But in order for you to apply for a US visa through Jamaica, you have to obtain the I-20 documentation from the university. So do you have that information?
No, ma'am, I don't. I
Okay.
don't have that, but the university called me today again asking me what's the update on the scholarship. Because they did accept me and I'm supposed to be starting on September 22nd, but I'm not sure is it.
Okay, so they're waiting for your scholarship award, and then once you confirm that you have the finances, they will issue you that I-20 form, which you can then use to apply for a visa in Jamaica.
Oh.
Yes, so you still have time. You're in July. Our hope is that persons who have finished the final stages, that we will begin to process them within the next 2 weeks. And so if you've already finished and submitted everything, then you should be in that group.
Okay. Yes, ma'am, finish everything.
All right.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thaddeus?
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I just wanted to comment and chime in regards to the last question. I actually just got a visa appointment for next week
Okay.
for a US student visa, so they're definitely still up and running again.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, I
accepting
think
applicants.
they closed it temporarily, or paused it, I should say, for the decision in regards to the whole social media stuff.
Right. I also have two questions as well.
Sure.
Will there be any provisions made to ensure that students can find employment upon their return to the Cayman Islands?
So we work closely with other government entities in terms of employment. What our process is really is, again, we will share information that is shared with us, employment opportunities that is shared with us. We share with all of our students. It is then up to the student to contact those specific employment entities seeking employment. We encourage students to, again, when you come home for summer, networking or getting work experience opportunities so that you can build those connections, and be able to seek employment easier than if you don't know or haven't made those connections.
Okay. And
Yeah.
my
So as
second
part of
question.
as part of your bond agreement, we do share, like I said, your information in terms of your contact information, your email specifically, and then your degree and where you're studying with those entities, so that if, for example, the finance ministry has openings and is seeking persons who have a finance and accounting degree, then we would share that information with our students who are studying in that area.
Okay. My second question is on the cost spreadsheet. I've already submitted and enclosed the final stage of the application,
Okay.
but I realized I made an error on the airline ticket portion, and the airline tickets are actually double the price that I put on there. Is there any way I
Okay,
can
so
go back and edit that?
So you want to send an email to scholarship submissions at gov.ky.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Catherine Swaby?
Hi, so I have a couple of questions. The first one is, when will I receive the bond documents?
So once you submit your final stage, as I said just now, we are hoping to be able to start processing those persons who have submitted their final documents within the next 2 weeks. There's been some changes to the bond document, so we have to wait for that final approval.
Okay, so in the next couple weeks, I should.
Yeah.
Okay. And I also wanted to ask, so on the cost spreadsheet, I put down estimates for rent and utilities, but what if the actual costs are more than my estimate?
So if you based on your costs, if you are under the 15K, then it is like usually what we will do is you'll be awarded that amount, whatever the amount is. But when you get up there and it's more, and say you have $3,000 still remaining on that 15K, and you can justify why you need that $3,000, you would just email in to the secretariat and we would then work with you to see how that gets resolved. Your first, just for everybody's information, I mean, usually your first term, you're awarded up to the max amount that you can get, which is 50, because we know that students are just going to start going and you're not sure what your expenses are going to look like and so forth. And, again, we kind of have an idea of what the costs are depending on where they're going. And so what we usually find is your first term, you might get the full 15, but then when you go, maybe you're spending a lot less, and then that amount is adjusted when you submit your receipts and stuff coming at the end of the term.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Akia Cole.
Hi, again, this is Akilia's mom.
Yes,
So I
ma'am.
have three questions actually. In regards to the documents to be submitted, the deadline that you just gave in regards to 2 weeks, does this have to be with her grades or no?
That deadline, ma'am, is when we are hoping to be able to start to complete the bond documents for students who have submitted their stuff. So nothing gets started until the student or the applicant submits all of their final stuff.
So those students that basically aren't getting their grades until their final grades until August.
Then they can't submit their stuff until they submit their final grades.
Okay, but you guys will also be looking at that, correct? At those
Yes, ma'am.
applicants. Okay, that's one. Number two, if she is awarded the scholarship and decide to apply for a student loan afterwards and gets through with it, she has to inform you guys as soon as she gets that, correct?
Yes. I mean,
okay. Mm-hmm.
Again, we expect they're going to be costs outside of the scholarship amount.
Mm-hmm.
And so we expect families to, obviously do what they need to do to take care of those costs. So if her estimated costs are $45,000 per annum and scholarship is only 30,000, then we would understand that other financial means are being taken care of. So once when she submits her cost spreadsheet and it adds up to the 15 that we have given her, the 30 we have given her, then it's fine. But yeah.
Okay, and the third question. Even though my daughter is accepted in the UK and supposed to start in January, she will only be 17. Is there an age limit for the scholarship?
The scholarship recipients should be 18 years old. However, the council has made exceptions in the event that the parents obviously are willing to or in agree, support the student going off at that age. But she needs to be at least, I think, turning 18 within the first 6 months of the scholarship. But if she's not, then that's just a conversation that we have.
Okay, so then I would have to reach out to you guys because she won't be 18 till next year, October.
Right. So once she submits her final stuff and we look through her stuff, then it would be noted what her age is, and then we would have that conversation. And basically, it would just be you. If you're okay with sending her off, then it would just be putting that in writing to Education Council, and they would then, make a decision. But in the past,
Without how the world is out there, I don't any age, no parent can be comfortable sending their child off alone.
That is true, right? So, but at the age of 18,
they're considered adults. I know.
Considered adults, right? So, yeah, so that going before 18 is a risk, and just once you're aware of the risk and so forth.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Lenari.
Good afternoon, Dr. Shari. I have 3 questions. So for the unofficial university degree plan, I've already uploaded my Bachelor of Arts for Psychology program plan and also like what the semester would look like on a weekly basis. Is there anything else that I need that is like required for the final submissions?
Whatever the tasks are, Lenari, that are on that in the application is very clear in the instructions what we're asking you for. So once your degree plan maps out your courses for each year, we're not necessarily worried about the weekly schedule, but more about the annual courses, because we want to make sure that you're taking the right amount of credits and that you're also going to be able to finish within the timeline. So once you're uploading whatever the documents are listed in the tasks, you should be fine. If not, an administrator will be reaching out to you, asking you for any additional information they need.
Okay, and also for my other question, for the final transcript and examination grade section, is it able to close if I already submitted like my final report card along with like my AP credits and stuff? Or do I have to wait for my final exam grades for it to be closed?
Which school are you coming from?
I'm coming from a high school in Canada.
Okay, so whatever document is going to have your final overall performance grades is what you should be submitting. So if your exam results may change that, then you need to submit the document when you have those.
Okay, perfect. Because I get those mid to late July. So should I still submit like my in-class grades along with the exam grades or just the exam grades itself?
Nope, wait until you have your final grades, please.
Okay. And then also, is the verification letter the same thing as an unconditional acceptance letter?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Welcome. All right, Journey.
Hello.
Hi.
When you say that we have to work in the Cayman Islands, do you mean that we have to like live there, or do we have to also work with Caymanian companies? Like if I were to live in the Cayman Islands but take work overseas, would that be allowed? Or if I were to live overseas but take work in the Cayman Islands, would that also be allowed?
Your bond states that you need to be working for either the Cayman Islands government or a company that is within the Cayman Islands. Anything outside of that, you would have to, at that time, submit information to council for review. I highly recommend if you are planning to live overseas or work overseas at the end of your studies, and you really don't think you'll be returning to live in Cayman, please do not accept the scholarship.
Okay.
Because you will have, part of the bond is that agreement is that if you don't, then you will be required to pay back the Cayman Islands government the funds that they have dispersed to you.
It's just that like my field is like I can travel with that, so I just wanted to know.
Yeah, you get some experience, you come home, you work your years, they go really fast. We're about to go into 2026 and we just started 2025, and then you get to go and world travel within 3 years.
Okay, thank you.
But I would say cross that bridge when it comes. Let's get there first. Henderson?
Hey, yeah, my one is two question basically. So in regards of, people, well, who is going to be studying in the US and or whatnot. In my case, my college, they have campuses in different countries. So it's the same school essentially, just different campuses, right? Different countries. Um, let's put it that I was going to go to the US, but in the end, they told me, hey, if the visa procedure doesn't go through, whatever may be the case, right? We have Costa Rica, we have schools in Central America that is basically the same branch. Does that affect in any way possible, may I ask?
Well, we would need to know where you're going to be located. So you would need to
Hmm.
communicate that information, and we would have to make that adjustment on your um, bond document. Because obviously, if your bond says that you are supposed to be in the,
US. Yeah,
US
yeah.
in Michigan, and you're sending me receipts for Costa Rica Real, I'm gonna
Yeah.
question why you in Costa Rica Real.
No, fair enough, fair enough. Most of all, I know they did it because of, the last changes that they've had in the US, right? So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I'll submit that. And the last question would be that, for example, this year that I'm beginning in the 1st of September. Normally, what is the normal period of time that you guys notify about the bond, if that makes sense? Because I imagine it's like a month ahead of time or something like that, right?
Yeah, like I said, as soon as you have everything and you've submitted it, then it goes in a
Mm-hmm.
queue and we start to process it. It takes us, once there's not a major bunch of questions that we have and stuff is straightforward, we can usually
Mm-hmm.
turn around. Once the admin person starts it, then it usually takes a couple of days and we get it out to you. Once you get it, then it's in your hands in terms of signatures and all that stuff. So we really try to get things turned around within the whole process within, I would say, within 2 weeks. Um, if
Mm-hmm.
you, I think there's a space where you can put when your expected departure date is. We also look at that so we can prioritize persons who may be leaving end of August versus the end of October.
Okay, cool. Yeah, imagine that because I think it's it's a safe time period, like to go like 2 weeks before to get everything in order once everything is granted, right? So, oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Ryan? Ryan?
Hello, Miss.
Gabriel?
Hello.
Yes.
I have 4 questions. My first one, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
My first one is that during my third, so my degree or my course is 4 years, and during my third year, it is going to be a placement year, and I'm wondering if I'll still get the reward during that time.
We would work with you to see what and where your placement is and what your expectancy is. So usually most schools, because it's in their, I think, the third year, they still charge you tuition and so forth. So that's something that you will work, the administrator will work with you on once you have more
Okay.
information on that. But
My second question is that earlier you mentioned that the first term we're likely to get the full 15,000. How likely am I to also get that if I also have a secondary scholarship?
I can't say that, right, because I don't know how much your secondary scholarship is and nor what it covers. So again, if you have a secondary scholarship, you need to let us know, so that we can then look at how much you can be, how much you need. The scholarship is about how much money you need to get you to complete the studies that you need to study and pay the expenses that you need to pay, not how much it would be wonderful and amazing to have. Okay, because as you can, there's hundreds of students that we have to pay for. So wherever we can save here so that we can pay there is what we look at. So it'll all be calculated. It's based on what is provided.
Okay. My third question is, what is expected to be shown in the official university costs? Because I checked my university's website, and all they have is the university accommodation costs as well as tuition. I don't see like any other costs.
Yeah, so you're going to the UK, it sounds like.
Yes.
Yeah, so you will, and you have a British passport, so you're accessing home fees.
Yes.
Okay, so your tuition would be that 9,000 something pounds plus whatever your accommodations are and your estimated airline tickets.
Okay. Is it possible to get like an idea of the timeline? Because I'll be getting my results on August 14, and I plan to leave for September 3 because my university starts like towards the start of September.
As I said, Ryan, we try to, once we get the information back, we try to process the stuff within 1 to 2 weeks. It might be shorter than that. So it just depends on when you submit it and where it is in the queue. Once we know when your expected date of leave is, then it gets prioritized. And really, once you get the bond, then it's when you get it back to us that we can then process the payment. The payment, it takes less than 24, 48 hours.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Brianna?
Hi, I was just checking for the bond document. You said that we have to sign it, or surety have to sign it, and it has to be a notary also has to sign it. For me, I'm already abroad, and my surety lives in Cayman. So what would I do at that point?
You would need to find a notary overseas. So when you get your bond, you sign your document and get it notarized overseas, have your surety sign theirs and get it notarized, and then you send both of those documents as a part of your overall package.
So does that mean when I get it, then I can either mail it back home for my surety to sign it?
I would just scan the page that they need to
Okay.
scan it to them,
Okay.
and then they can just print the page that they have to sign.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thaddeus?
Hi, this is Thaddeus' mom. Good afternoon, everyone.
afternoon.
The question I have is, what if a returning graduate faces unemployment?
Oh, Mom, can we cross that in 4 years?
It's one of those things that we hear of often where you have all these university graduates coming home and there's no jobs for them. So
Yeah.
if he's bound for 4 years to the government but can't find work until 18 months after returning, that can kind of shift the path of his life.
Yeah, so I can't give you a firm answer on that. What I can say is that the current government, which we now have a new government, have been working already very diligently in the terms of employment opportunities for Caymanians and returning graduates.
Okay.
As I've been suggesting through the whole presentation, is that students need to be in contact with the local entities. So if he is studying something that, if he's studying finances, then I would expect that Thaddeus is trying to network and communicate with local companies here. When he's on break, he's here trying to get
Internships.
Internships and such. We are working more and more with the Chamber of Commerce and various other entities to make sure that our students have access to those priorities, but the students have to take an active role in that as well.
All right, appreciate it.
Yeah, whenever we receive opportunities for internships or employment, we share them with the students, but it's up to the students then to initiate that. Yeah.
Okay.
If you are studying an area that may not necessarily translate to a job directly here in the Cayman Islands, which everything that you should be doing should somehow translate to a job here in the Cayman Islands. But say you are studying molecular or nuclear science or something like that, you need to be thinking about how can that be applied to here in Cayman. Should you be having conversations with CUC or one of companies like that in terms of that you would be able to get employment opportunities.
All righty, thanks.
No problem. All right, Marie Bodden.
Hello, good afternoon. I
afternoon.
was just wondering, I have a secondary scholarship, but it doesn't cover my plane tickets. So I was wondering if I could use the Cayman scholarship just for plane tickets only. Is that possible, or?
As I said before, if you have a secondary scholarship, that'll be your primary scholarship, and government will be your top up. So if your scholarship doesn't cover your airfare, then the government scholarship amount awarded would be able to do that potentially.
Okay.
But the best thing to do is give us all the information. The more information you all give us, the better informed we can be, or we will be, to be able to do your documents and make sure that you're receiving whatever it is that you need to receive.
Okay, thank you so much.
I want to thank you all for joining in, and for those of you who have stayed on for the question and answer session. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for joining us, and I wish you all the very best in the next few stages. If you are successful in your scholarship, I wish you all the best in your studies. Please do not forget to say hello to us in the Secretariat. And also, please, if you are awarded a government scholarship, even if you have a secondary scholarship, do not forget that you got awarded a government scholarship. I have been significantly disappointed in the number of scholars that we have had over the last couple, especially this past year, who have been highlighted and has not mentioned once that they went on a government scholarship. So please, please, please remember where your foundation is coming from, because if the government decides to pull this scholarship scheme, there are going to be a lot of young people who are going to be in a significant problem, right? Because there's not enough private scholarships to cover all of the young people that we are paying for. And as of now, there is no limit to what you want to study, where you want to go, nor the amount that is awarded. So I wish you all the best. Again, if you have any questions, you can always email us. I'll put up the slide with the email contact information, and we will be happy to answer your questions. Take care. And again, this will be up on our YouTube page. Just look for scholarships.ky on YouTube, and it should be up on within the week. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks again. Good luck, everybody.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shari. Bye-bye.
Bye. You're welcome.